City Beacon. We are live and ready to go. It's Mike Seville, the real estate guy here in South Florida. Of course, on the other side of the mic, we have my brother from another mother, D. Joel Simmons.
Good to
What's
see
going
you,
on?
brother.
Yeah. I almost feel like the vibration right now is like super calm. Like it just seems like a very calm vibration. Let's see if there's a storm brewing or what. How's your week been?
Week has been very good, very productive, extremely productive. Um, very happy with everything that's been going on. Grateful, man. I'm in a place of just being very, very grateful. Yeah. How about you? Anything stand out?
Well, I'm going to dive a little bit deeper. I'm going to dive a little bit deeper. So,
Go
talk
ahead.
about productivity and seeing it as being productive. What does that look like in a day in the life of Joel Simmons at the Opportunity Lab, or a week in the life
It's,
at this point?
the productivity is, just creating whatever my goals are, my priorities, and then looking at it at the end of the day and seeing that they were accomplished. And if they weren't accomplished, then adding them to the next day and doing it then. You know, um, I've been doing that, and it's a beautiful thing. I just met somebody earlier today. It just came to my mind that this woman is just absolutely amazing. Um, Shout out to Brissa Alfaro. And she is just spectacular. 10 years ago, she had a stroke. 10 years ago, she had a stroke and she had Pons stroke, and she had what was called like locked in syndrome. And she ended up coming out of it. Like it was considered that everyone, the doctor said she would die. It was like supposed to be 1% chance. And her mother, God bless her, started playing audiobooks by her bedside while she was not moving. Locked in syndrome causes the person to, they're unable to move at all. So it wasn't like one sided versus the other. She still suffers from some aphasia, but because it is locked in syndrome, she couldn't move anything. I mean, it's that crazy stuff. Like, I remember old school Alfred Hitchcock and seeing this one old Alfred Hitchcock movie where this guy was alive, but he had locked in syndrome. I never thought about it till I talked with this lady today. And so in that movie, the guy's like screaming, "I'm alive, I'm alive." And of course, the doctor doesn't know that he's alive, and they start doing all these weird things to him and stuff like that. And he has to feel all of it, but he can't say anything until they eventually just leave him. But she, on the other hand, was with her mother who believed in her. And of course, all the diagnostic type of stuff that we have in this day compared to back in the Alfred Hitchcock days of the past. Uh, they were able to prove that there was still functionality in the brain, but they just didn't believe she would ever live. And after listening to all these different books, which she mentions one book called The Secret, I'm sure you're familiar with that, and hearing that so often, one part stuck inside of her mind, and that was the belief inside of her mind when her body couldn't do it, and she embodied that belief that she could actually survive to the point where her body began to respond to her belief, and she just went down this pathway of visualization and dreams and visions of her body moving and her, doing these different types of things, speaking on stages, just like all this stuff she envisioned and she lived it in her body until at one point in time her pinky moves and her mom saw it. And her mom goes and asks her, she's like, "Did your pinky move?" And so she moves it again. And so it was just like this great conversation. Um, and so that was part of my blessing that I got a chance to speak with her and to hear her story. And to do some work with her as well. And so I'm very grateful. This is a part of me just being very intentional and working at that one small thing ahead of, after the next small thing, and making sure that the things that I absolutely need to do are on my list. You know,
Yeah,
that's
what
how.
an whoa, that's an awesome story or experience that you just had. But I'm curious, even with the production and just what kind of energy after speaking with someone like that does that do for you in the day? Like, is it more about I don't even want to speak for you or give you the words for it. Like, what does that do for you after speaking to someone who's been through such an, I mean, in my mind, extraordinary experience?
Yeah, I mean, Mike, I feel I absolutely resonate with her, right? And take nothing away from her story or from how miraculous it is. Um, I resonate deeply with it. So, the what it left with me was just, hey, this is a person who has a great story to tell, and I can help them figure their story out. Um, and I guess, not even I guess, I say that because I, I have a great story to tell, right? I mean, I've been through quite a scenario before, and and I continue to go through my own pieces of it, and so that's why I resonated so well with her. Um, but also just being ready for that type of individual. For whatever the cause, whatever the reason, God be the judge. I get these people that are very high level individuals that wind up being on my Zoom calls or, my Google Meets when I'm talking with them. And, you know, they need the type of assistance that I could supply. So it's not like it doesn't surprise me at this point when they land there. It feels right to me. It just feels right. It feels like, yeah, you're the person I should be speaking with. I looked at her as like kind of like a Mel Robbins type of scenario or a Unblinded. I forget that man's name right now, but the Unblinded series. And I just looked at her and I was like, yeah, she's got great things to bring to the table, you know. And there's so many of us as people that have really, really great things to bring to the table. And sometimes those things get muffled, they get muffled because for whatever reasons, lots of different causes. And so it's up to them, somebody, to help them get the muffle off of the muzzle off of whatever it is, and allow what they do and their experiences to really sing, to come forward and to help somebody, the intended people. And maybe it's not meant to help many, maybe it's only meant to help one. But whatever that destination looks like for their story, I believe it should be out there. I guess to answer your question shortly is just I wasn't surprised. I was just like, you're the right person for me to meet. It's the right time. So let's see what we do with this. We'll go from there.
Yeah, I love that. I think the awareness, that's what I hear. It sounds like a lot of awareness that I know you have a lot of awareness on issues, things, and even interactions with people. So to just be in that space and to witness somebody, whatever their story is or whatever it could be. And we're online, we're on Facebook Live. So if anyone's up here, please, you know, feel free to comment, or like or even share because it doesn't necessarily have to be as extraordinary as that. Or maybe it is as extraordinary as that. I think personally, whatever a person's going through, it's extraordinary. Maybe you don't know how to communicate it, or maybe like the brother you just mentioned, I'm going to use your word as muffled. Maybe there's just something muffled about it. And I say that because my life, once I became aware of it and stopped avoiding things, it's there's so much that goes on within it. The people I meet, the stories I hear, the stories I share, the experiences that I have, so on and so forth. And once you just recognize it and have the awareness of it, and everyone's not doesn't need to be or is meant to be or whatever may have you to be on a stage, but if it touches one person, and forget even one person, if you can resonate with that within yourself, it's more than enough. After you resonate, after you can actually be aware of that within yourself, anything else is just, to me, is just extra. So, yeah, that's an awesome story. Awesome.
Mm. I love that. I love the way you positioned that and gave a lot of reality to it as well. I think that that's where it starts. It all starts. You remember, um, I was doing that series for quite some time. It starts with me, and that's exactly where it is. Like it starts with inside of oneself, and what we're able to accomplish. There's just really there's no bounds to what we're able to accomplish. I'll share with you this also. This was a perspective. I might have shared this with you before, but I'll share it again because it's been like a link in the chain of this opening, right? That I was mentioning to you while I was out there at the gas station, pulled over to share time with you at the Community Beacon about my past and how I had went up to this level that was very scary for me. It was just very, very scary for me to feel as spiritually in tune as I was. And through the process of the different things, the various things that I've been going through in my life and that I've been a part of, and you've been a part of, Mike, because like I've come here and I've shared a lot of these testimonies with you. So like the people out there are probably more of an eyewitness to a transformation that I'm in the middle of right now, right? And so um, at some point in time, we'll rewind the tapes and people will really be able to see a thing more clearly if they so wanted to. But you've been very keen and very understanding and just very smart in the way that you position your questions and your thought process, and it's just all very natural for you. It's obvious, and I've been watching you go through this process as well. But nonetheless, just in the middle of this entire process, it's like I've started to reach up into those levels, and like these visions are starting to happen like once before, and you know, just hearing those words like I had explained before, like full out script, like a sermon in my mind, just like all these things just happening and seeing what all these things happening and feeling it, and then witnessing it happen right in front of me. Like there was a wall there yesterday and there's no wall today. Like him being able to see that happen has just been extraordinary, and being a part of it. And so while I was going through all of this, I mentioned to you on one occasion, I know this one for sure, that I realized we say a cliche is trust the process. And it dawned on me like minutes before we went on one of our shows weeks ago. And I said, the process is grace. And it's like, oh my God, the process is grace. And then of course the scripture came to me, and his grace is sufficient. So I just began to like change my whole mind. Okay, that the process is grace and his grace is sufficient. So it's not that I need to trust the process. Maybe we need to trust the process, but I don't know about everyone else, but like I'm gonna trust in his grace. Like this is very foundational for me. Like I don't need to create something brand new. I don't need to go and grab somebody else's cliche. I have something that is foundational. This is transformational for me, and it always has been. And I can trust in His grace, and His grace is sufficient. So therefore, whatever happens, it's good. And so that was like a building block, and that building block ended up taking me to another place where maybe a week or so later, I was doing my studies, and I was going through my studies, and it was very, very famous scripture that people uh, read all the time, or have heard about in some shape or way, and or could resonate with if they are non-religious. And that's the story in the book of Daniel, the 3rd chapter, about the 3 Hebrew boys and them going into the fiery furnace. And so I'm in there, and of course, I've gone over the scripture so many times, and all of a sudden, it just hit me like a ton of bricks. We as people are so busy crying and calling and trying to get out of our circumstances, trying to get out of the fire. We're so busy like attempting to find a way out of the fire that sometimes we don't realize that we don't smell like smoke. And I think I actually said these words when I was on the phone with my pastor, and it was like, we both just had to like stop and just like allow that to just absorb this revelation. It's like, oh man, so busy trying to get out of the fire that I didn't even realize I don't smell like smoke.
Do not smell like smoke.
No. And of course, I went back into the scripture, and I wanted to understand I remember reading they did not smell like smoke, but then I realized something in that Nebuchadnezzar looks into the fire, and he's like, didn't we throw 3 men in there? And they're like, yes. He's like, well, why is there 4? One looks like the Son of Man. And for me, that translated into stop worrying about the trouble, the circumstances, the difficulty, the challenge, whatever that fire is that you feel like you're going through. Stop worrying about that, because your grace is in the fire with you. Like, if you try to get out of it, you may just be leaving the grace that is there for you. The Lord was in the fire with those men. He was there. An outsider is the one who said he saw him. Shadrach did not say that. The king did, who didn't believe the same thing. And so when I thought about that, I was like, oh my gosh, this is like a mystery that I never saw before in 26 years. Never saw that. And all of a sudden, I see it clear as day. Stop clawing my way. Don't claw your way out. Don't try to break your way out. Don't try to force your way out. Don't try to overthink it. Whatever it is that I could be attempting to do, I don't smell like smoke. Like I'm not being burned. And I'm in the fire. I'm not being burned, no. And so it was like this was this life-changing moment that explained so much in a second. In a second. And so when I linked the two of them together, it's like trust the process. For me, it's trust His grace. His grace is sufficient. You're in the fire, but you don't smell like smoke because He's in the fire with you. So this is the safest place. This is exactly where you're supposed to be. Don't try to do something different. Just do what you're supposed to do. That's all you need to do. Whatever you're supposed to do while you're in the fire, just do that. Whatever that is. Because whatever comes of this is what needs to come of it. And in that instance, they came out with all their clothes. They came out with not a singe of hair, but they lost their shackles. The shackles burnt off. And so sometimes you got to go on the fire just to lose the shackles. And I was like, man, ain't that something? So yeah, that's that was like that rationale when I started thinking about this whole process when dealing with this lady earlier today and so many other things. And I shared that with another young lady earlier today while she was on her way to Walmart, um, trying to figure out what she could do for her son. And we were talking about business, and we've got like this relationship. Um, and it was just very interesting. I shared that with her. It's like because she opened it up, she's like, it feels like I'm going through hell. And I guess that's where I got it, where I ended up there at. So that was a lot, brother. Where
Yeah, yeah,
what are your thoughts?
yeah. It definitely is a lot. Um,
I can't hear you that clearly. I can
Uh-oh.
hear you.
Can you hear me? Mic check, mic check. Better?
Yes, I hear you.
Okay, cool. So immediately I remember you having that thought about the trust is grace. And I don't, yeah, at the time, it was kind of just dropped on you. So it wasn't really quite formulated as you went through it now, as you thought it through and you had the conversation with your colleague or your pastor. Um, what sticks out for me is trust. It's just the trust part. I'm not, everyone has their different belief system and what they believe in or whatever, but something that I could draw out that story is like the trusting in the whatever is happening is happening. I almost love the fact that you don't really have to do anything but trust in it. So it's like it's not about anything. It's just the awareness that this is happening, and I can be in it. Um, I wrote something to a group that I'm in recently, and I said, um, oftentimes, especially when things are long and drawn out, or when things are super impactful, and in our minds we frame it as in a negative way, or it could be a negative way. Some people will call it trauma. It ends up training you, and if it happens over a long period of time, like where you don't know what to expect or you don't know what's happening, it becomes what some psychologists may call complex trauma. And what I was taught, or how I would get through these things that are super impactful, what in my mind, like these things are huge to me. Like I gotta, if I'm in a decision or I'm going through something, I would just put my head down and just, I gotta do this and I gotta go through it. And I would trust that I'm gonna get through it, but it was more so about just going through it and not actually experiencing the thing. But then if I'm not experiencing the thing and I'm not noticing what's around me, to your story, like I'm not seeing that there's another person in there with me, right? There's someone there that's helping me to get through. And in my belief, like it's really just me. Like I'm not allowing myself to fully experience this thing. And if I don't fully experience this thing, then I become disassociated and super reactionary to it from that point on. And then I start to relate things to it. And I'll overthink things and I'll believe that it's my will. And I'll believe like I'm gonna write this plane. Like I'm the one. It's all on me, and I'm gonna make it happen. And I actually make this thing bigger than what it was. But I don't smell like smoke. Like there's really nothing. I just need to be in this process and trust in this thing. And when you have that, it's not that these things won't happen, right? It's not like you're not gonna be in a place where you're going through something, so to speak, or something comes up in your mind, but it's happening, and I'm able to say, okay, well, there's joy in this. There could be grace in this. I could be learning something from this. And as a matter of fact, you don't even have to make it turn into a positive of it. It's just like, okay, I'm here now, and what steps in. So that kind of caught my mind with that story. Um, really, and for the awareness and for people to bring this back to you, it just shows how much you, like, you're thinking on these things. And you're actually having these things happen to where you can actually empathize with people and have the ability to show compassion, and their stories resonate with you. Like I'm going to say it again. I don't think most people, and if I were to go the numbers route, are meant to be these huge stars. Like, everybody can't be a star. You don't have the backing, probably the money, you don't have the resources, the know-how, you're probably not in the environment. Like, all these things are happening. But that doesn't mean that you lose agency for yourself. If you're not helping 1,000 people on the stage, it really just starts with you, like trusting in you, and then everything happens and falls into place. You almost don't have to do anything. Is what I want to get on as well. Like, I had several great conversations. I just finished up the Great Decisions course again. We reran it independently from the Art of Accomplishment, and it was 6 of us, and we finished it up last week. And immediately after that, I had 2 people reach out to me that had, they just reached out to me and wanted to talk to me. One person, we hadn't really been interacting for like 6 or 7 years. One person, just fresh out the blue, was just like, from the course, because we have a really great community from the course, was like, hey, let's get together on a Sunday, let's discuss, let's have what we call a view conversation. The other person was in the real estate business, and he's like, hey man, I haven't seen you in years. Let's meet up or something. I didn't do anything. Like, I'm just here. It was so funny that after we met, he was talking about getting in shape, and he was like, I'll see you. He's like, man, I see you working out. He says, I'm like, yeah. I'm like, well, tell you what, come, you feel free to come with me tomorrow. And of course, I was like, yeah, he's not going to show up. And he showed up, and we worked out. We had a great time. And even in that, because he's a lender, like, I'm introducing him to people who are realtors, like, here, right, immediately. Like, this just happened just for someone reaching out and us taking the time to connect and have a conversation. It could have been nothing. But when you go into this thing, like, it's really about the relationship and the connection, and you have the wherewithal and the awareness. It's a present all within itself. Like, just the presence, your presence is a present. And when you can understand that, and that may sound cliche, since we're talking about cliches, like, that may sound cliche. However, if you go into something without that expectation of, this has to happen, or this has to happen, or this has to happen, then you may miss out on what's the real big thing, is the experience of this person, the experience of you and this person, and what can come out and be created. Because I believe that young lady that you spoke to could have told her story to a bunch of different people. But they didn't have the awareness to say, wait a minute, let me show you something. Let me reveal you to you. A lot of people don't have that person where they reveal you to you. Like, hey, this is you. And you can point that thing out. I think that's something that you do very well. And so, that's, there's a lot that came out of that story, and it's deeper than that. But yeah, that's kind of what was on my mind, man. It was, yeah.
That's deep, insightful too. Very insightful. The process of just thought. The process of thought. I think that's interesting about how we have these conversations, because they're not really formed anymore, right? And we are definitely at some of the closer times that we have had on this show to just our conversations, and how our conversations were from many years ago, where we would just call each other up, and maybe we're just thinking about something or whatever. It could be anything, and how that conversation would just link to another one, and it was really just like this thought that we would have, and we would experience together. And there was so much learning and so much value inside of that. And there still is. There still is. And I'm just very, very grateful because there's just so much respect here, right? There's a ton of respect because, you know, like things change, right? Things change, things change. People change, and sometimes beliefs change, sometimes creeds change, sometimes bodies change, right? The bodies change and they look differently, you know. Sometimes age plays a part. Sometimes, like you were mentioning, trauma plays a part. Sometimes training plays a part. Um, you know, and sometimes loss plays a part. Sometimes gain plays a part. Um, but you know, the deepest relationships are those that people meaningfully, intentionally, um, they they don't just allow it to be, but they also nurture it. They also ensure that this relationship is going to last. And I'm very grateful, just super grateful, right? Um, because the relationship continues to last and continues to grow. And like we're just at this place, right? I know that there's probably somebody watching, or maybe there's nobody watching, but it doesn't matter at all to me. Like I could care less. You know, you can watch, you can not watch, whatever you want to do. You know, and I feel like the essence of True Community Beacon is at that peak right now. And if it's at its peak, then that only means that we can only look to another peak, right? Like if we've reached a peak, we look towards another peak, and that's me putting in the most natural form because really there is no peak, right? You know, if we were to go infinite level in our thought process, which is sometimes the way it comes across. And the thing is, like you have to stay in tune to these conversations. Like if somebody were wanted to jump in or dive in or listen to, you would either have to be at some place in your infinite thought process that you would be able to connect, or you would have to just stay long enough to really understand what's going on because the words that are being spoken are at such a high level. And it's not to say that we're at such a high level because in the levels of things, there's so much more higher levels. I mean, what really does that mean? But at the end of it all, which there isn't, then it's just like, yo, we are here. That's where we are. And we're making this space for here. And it doesn't matter about what else is there. And man, that is
You got to pause on that one. Like someone really has to take that in. Like the words, you can have academia, you can have some of the, I know you don't like this word, guru, someone with the most amount of wisdom, people who have really experienced life and had, I think, at bats. I always talk about like having a lot of conversations at bats, having and being open to it. The ground floor and the top floor is just the ability to receive it. So you can jump into the middle of the conversation, and the only thing that stops a person from having it is receiving it is just you just decided that you don't want to. And you really take. I want people to take this in. You're making a choice that I really don't want to receive this thing, right? And we can make all the different excuses, or we can talk about all the different ways of how we we can't quite get over this hump. It happens. I heard someone call it, you have a 404 page. When you have a 404 page, where is there's nothing there, like you have a blank out. You can have a blank out because it can happen because certain things may trigger you because of the way you think or you thought or your mindset is, your belief, your worldview, like whatever it is, it could stop you. The thing is that even in spite of it all, if you just say, I just want to receive it, like I want to be able to receive whatever this is, and that point that you just made that I think really sharpens it is that you say we're here and like there's no end to it. So me and Joe can't we can't even explain that, like the process of being here, and there's no end to it. That's the beginning and the end, the so-called the beginning and the end. It's the entirety of it. And even I haven't met anyone in human form that can expound on it because it's really about the feeling at that point, that space and time. Like, it's really about a feeling with it. And if you can feel it, you can feel it, and that allows you to be open. But the allowance, bro, that was deep. I really felt that part of just this space, this infinite space. And we talk about allowing it, and we're just allowing it to be in the room, right here, right now. Me and the brother can spend 20 to probably at this point in time, we've been doing this for so long. We probably can, right before we get on this show, we can probably spend about 20 to 25 minutes, or after we get off, whatever, for next week, and say, this is what we're going to do. And give it to you point by point. And who knows, maybe in the future that may happen, maybe it doesn't happen. Who knows how this unfolds. But I'm just saying that we have the ability to do that and give you this point by point thing. And now you got AI. We can just probably spit it into AI. It'll give us our points so that we can put it on the screen for you to actually have it up there, and we'll just read from, we'll hit the different points, and we'll go very succinctly. This is a special time and moment. I remember the brother used to talk about time and chance. This is like a special time and chance for a lot of people. It's a special time and chance for a lot of people. And maybe some people aren't ready for it. Some people are, right? But if you notice it, that would be my pitch to a lot of people, brother, that you talk to. This is a special time and chance. And if you even have an inkling of noticing this thing, if you have a feeling that is that, I think you need to, we can have a really deeper conversation. It's a special time, and I know I've seen that before in my life. Like, oh man, I even think back in the day, like, ooh, that was a special time and chance, right? It's a special time and chance for you to experience what is actually happening in this moment. Brother, I was thinking about, we had the A framework. So, we talk about awareness, we talk about acknowledgement, we talk about acceptance, alignment. I was thinking about attunement. I was like, I don't know, I think alignment and attunement, they're super similar, but I don't want to get caught up in the semantics of it, right? We'll get there. What was very special to me this week was the awareness of it. Just the ability to spot it, whatever that was, right? A smile, right? For that someone gives you as you walk by. We don't necessarily have to do anything with it. We can just be happy that we witnessed it. So it's just like, man, I'm gonna wear that smile over this person, or someone, let you jump in front of them in the car. Sometimes it's like, just go ahead of me, or whatever it is. Like, just noticing that in the context of things. Like, I don't have to do. Like, we don't have to acknowledge it. We don't have to necessarily accept it. Because sometimes, we're like, no, you go. You know what I mean? Like, oftentimes we're not accepting of it. We're just like, you go. But just the awareness of what just took place, and not having to do anything with it. I think a lot of people miss that in their life. Like to witness the awareness of almost like a baby just coming to themselves. I remember when I first came to myself, so to speak. I remember it was like, it might have been like my second, that I recall. It was like my second or third birthday party. And of course they were throwing a party it was my birthday, but it was adults party. And I can remember like maneuvering, like I just came to myself and I was maneuvering. I walked downstairs. We had a basement, and that's where all the adults were. They were, the music was going. There was a lot of adults down there doing what, we do as a community. And I remember just walking through and just like, oh man, I'm like, first time I remember like my hands and I'm walking through and I see adults and I'm just maneuvering, and, they're seeing me walk through and they're like, they're talking to me, or they're saying, smiling at me or whatever. And it was just, that moment is like everything to me. If I can think about just like what it would be like after, it would be that moment. It would be like the awareness of this entire thing. And over time, we make it, we kind of, muffle it. To continue with that word, we kind of muffle that thing. to the point now where we don't even we're just all within our own selves. We don't acknowledge each other as far as like waving. We don't smile. Sometimes we avoid eye contact. Like this, avoiding eye contact and being able to see somebody and not necessarily having to do anything with it. Like that's avoidance, right? Like it's starting to like become a shell, right? Like the communities where every neighbor knew each other and was willing, you could ask for a sugar next door, whatever it is that happened as I grew up, right? Or like over time, like it just becomes like we don't know our neighbors, we don't know our community, we're not witnessing each other to the point where some people never even have that in their life. It's just a forever. I got to put on this front or this identity, or I have to put on this mask in order to get through life. And they don't even recognize themselves. And I'm telling you, people, when you start to recognize yourself, and you have people around you that can help you reveal it, and not out of judgment, just allow you to be what you are. It's the best feeling in the world when you can start doing that with yourself. It's
Yeah,
the best feeling in the world.
yeah, that's good. I'm glad you said it. Yeah, that's good. Because man, when you were talking, and man, that thing just like it hit me while you were speaking. Like identity, right? And I know we've talked about identity so much, so much. We've talked about identity, and listen, people out there, if they go back, they're gonna see
Let's dive deeper.
the transformation of our thought process around identity, and I think it's really cool because you and I we've kind of like almost like ping pong the identity thought process, and you would grow some in identity, I would grow some in identity, we both would grow some in identity, and it was just like this metamorphosis, right? And man, you're like you're moving right in that direction from the time of recognizing yourself as as a child, moving through this space and recognizing hands, feet, all this type of stuff. Just like this is who I am. This mixture of chemicals of of flesh, of dirt, of atoms, of life, right? Just this mixture of all of these different components that's everywhere, right? I mean, people, they try to separate themselves from everything, but we can't, because every single thing that's inside of us, you can find it in everything. I can find it in the chair that I'm sitting on. I can find it in the wall. I can find it in the dirt. I can find it in the air. All of these different things are inside of this shell, right? This shell, and it's working together to make what other people see Joel, right? That's all of that. And so, man, while you're like breaking this thing down and you're talking about identity, I'm just like, oh my gosh, and I just started thinking about that one moment when, Moses like talking to God, he's like, I am that I am. I'm like, I am that I am. Like, I am that I am. What kind of identity really is it that I am? There is no word that can describe me. There's none. So when you left off on that last part and I'm just listening to it, I'm like, allowing other people, and then you said what it really comes down to is just really it's all about on the inside, and it has nothing to do with what other people say, think, or believe, but it's all about what I say, what I think, what I believe. That is the only identity that there is. And then the truth of the matter is there is no identity. I am what I am. That's it. That's it. I cannot use a word in the dictionary to describe me because there is no word except me. It's just me. And if I look up me, it's going to talk about all other me's except for me. If I look up Joel, it's going to talk about a Joel that was so prominent in history that somebody researched him and they gave him an identity of who he is, but that's not him. That's their representation of him. Therefore, there is no direct correlation to any word, any type of language that can describe what I am. For that means that my identity is simply what I am, and there is no other word that can be placed there for it. And like you said that, I'm like, okay, that's it right there. Now let's go ahead and let's take a sip of that thing and sit on it for a minute.
Mm. And the distinction I make, and we form these identities because we want to manage a thing as a human being. Like a part of our experience and a part of what makes us us, our thought process is like we want to manage this thing. So we're going to label it. We're going to come up with words for it because we want to be. As a human, we tend to get frustrated if we can't communicate something. Right. So the only thing when you're young, you're taught like I just gotta cry out. That's why that baby is like that baby is gonna cry out like like this is what it. And I think a lot of us should do that as well. You know what I mean? When you get into your modes, whatever it might be, even if it could be anger, it could be happiness, it could be joy. But when that thing wells up inside of you, sometimes you just cry out. Right, whatever it is, you cry because you can't even form it. Like it's a whole different level. I practice transcendental meditation, and as a part of transcendental meditation, they ask you certain questions, and as part of the questions that they ask you, it forms what they call your mantra. And it's like a personal mantra. It's supposed to be based on that exact moment. I don't know how they figure this out or what they do, but they just come out and they give it to you. Like this is your mantra, and they say never speak it out. Like don't say it. You just kind of keep when you're doing it in your mind, whatever, and it just brings you back to you essentially. So some people do I know you've heard people say which essentially translate into I am. That's what is. So some people do it, and it just brings you back to when your mind, because this is a benefit, right? This is a feature, excuse me, of being a human being. Your mind starts to ping, ping, ping. So we come up with all these labels, we come up with these distinctions. You'll hear me say it a lot. Really, I'm trying to understand what a person is communicating to me. So I draw distinctions, and if I can make it a little bit more accurate a feature of Mike's brain is that I'm going to attempt to make it accurate. That's a part of just how my brain works. I take it for granted. Some people, I even got to the point now I'm like, listen, don't even listen to what I'm saying. Like, explain it how you're saying. I'm working on myself not to speak it for you because I want to hear what you say so I can use your words so that we're both having the same conversations. This is because I've done tons of this. Like, I've done a ton of this work and I kind of understand it. But we want to manage a thing. So what we've done is we create, or people give us sometimes, an identity. So when we say, one of my identities could be, I'm a father. So then I approach it in that kind of way. Well, what does the culture teach me about being a father? Oh, you need to be protective. You need to be, you need to have structure. You need to provide structure. All these are features of you being that, right? There's nothing, there's anything wrong with it. When I started to think about the identity, I'm like, well, I'm more than that, right? I'm more than a father. Like, my son is not here today. Does that, what does that make me at this point? Like, it's almost limiting. So I'm like, I get a chance to, for my own benefit, because I like to manage things and allow it to flow. But this allows it to flow is like, I can step into the role of being a father. So it's like, it's no longer this identity of this is always this thing. I'm stepping into the role, the appropriate role for it. So I'm allowing this thing to flow through me. As my kids get older, it's no longer, I no longer have this rigidity about what a father looks like. Once again, nothing wrong with it, right? My father and my uncles, they probably all still see me as little, Mike, right? So So the way they talk to me is more so like, this is little Mike. This is how I'm going to approach it because that's how they see me. But when I'm in the role of being this or a father or being that, it kind of just allows all of this stuff to like less management and just more flow. Less management and more flow. I still get to do all these things that quote unquote a father does, but it's more so like a human being of it. Now, as my son gets a little bit older, Elijah's now 16. If I realize that if I maintain this father-like attitude, nothing wrong with it. If I, because I'm in it all the time, he sees me differently, and maybe he doesn't want to talk to me because of what he believes a father may be, or how he sees this role being played. So now, when I'm looking at him, and this goes back to like we don't even have a word for what we are besides me or I am that I am. Like it's just this thing, and I want to allow him to see that for himself. So when I'm around, it's like when I get in the father mode, I can almost tell like this trend, this thing that happens. And sometimes it creates a connection. Sometimes it might create a disconnection. It's the limitation of being this thing. But if I can just witness him as far as him being him and saying, okay, well, what's that about? You know, that's when I get into the how, what questions, right? I'm super big on view conversations. I'm the impact of it. So just getting like, well, what about that do you like? How does that make you feel? Like, what is this about? So he can just start to think on his own without necessarily me. Like, I'm not teaching the person to this to what's happening now because it's going to change. That's one thing you mentioned, brother. One thing about life is that things are changing. But if you have this strong sense of self, no matter what it is, no matter what you call a thing, no matter how you feel about a thing, but you have this strong sense of self, you can always be in wonder and be curious about it. And that just opens up the possibilities for everything. Like, I don't have to maintain this thing because it was given to me or that's how I thought at one point in time. I'm just opening it up and receiving it all if I can even contain it. Yeah, so you talk, brother, like I can't even contain that power and energy that's coming from you. So it's like, oh, here, so all I can do is allow it to run through me because I don't want it to get stuck in me. That might lead to anxiety or it could lead to certain things. I want this thing to flow through me and allow it to teach everything that I have going on within myself, even though my mind probably can't even fathom it. I was having a conversation with someone, and this is what we do as entrepreneurs. This is so dope. You'll love this. So I'm real huge, and if you look up, I always look up to the thing, and my principles are like up here. People don't believe how they're up here, like all my principles, and I go through them all the time. Us as entrepreneurs or business-minded people or people that have a certain thought process, right? Whatever you want to call it, are super in our heads. Like we're constantly thinking, right? And this also for people who are just like people pleasers. A people pleaser is someone who's constantly thinking because that's how you're effective at your job, right? As people pleasing, I got to sense what this person has going on, and then I have to please them in a way. So we're constantly it's become so sophisticated. Our minds have become so sophisticated that like you're even watching like people's eyes and where it goes and their facial thing, and we're trying to figure out like what is this person thinking? Is this okay for this person? So this person could turn around and validate us. So what ends up happening is we're caretaking. However, that we tend to be that way. Entrepreneurs, what I've noticed, also have a strong gut feeling, right? The gut is involved. So it's always like, man, it's a go, go, go thing. That's how I experience the gut. Like, oh, this needs to happen. Oh, just get it done. Your brain will be like, well, how are we going to get it done? Let's figure out a way. Oh, it might not work. But your gut is like, all right, whatever it is, we'll figure it out on the other side of this thing. I might have to, you don't need to sleep. You just need to go. You need to make sure it happens. So it's 3:00 and you have this idea, jump out of the bed and make it happen. Like do this, go, 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 go. And so what we end up doing is we end up having a super strong gut to head connection. And it just goes back and forth. And it actually trains our central nervous system to react in a certain kind of way. And it's always, because your head's going to give you all the great, the bad, it's going It's going to analyze data. It's going to just give you a way of rationalize things of why you need to do this and why you don't. And the gut is just steadily telling you like, yeah, you're on the right track. Keep going, or just keep doing it. And what we end up doing is even in sales, what that ends up becoming super transactional with people. We end up becoming very transactional oriented because the gut is always saying go, even whether or not the person in front of us wants to go or not, or is capable of going. And our mind is rationalizing or telling us how we can make this happen, and you're just always forward moving. You start to see what I would advise someone to attempt to do, and there's a lot of different ways that you can kind of figure this out. I forgive me because I've done a lot of work. Is that if you can start to get your heart into this connection, head, heart, body. If you can start to have them be attuned with each other, right, and start to really enact it, like you start to see totally differently, right? Like the rigidity of the thing of what the mind comes, because our minds tend to be super binary based on all of the evidence, right? Your mind is very evidence based, whether you want to do it or not. Your gut is not, but your heart opens up it's really the opening up all of the possibilities. What's interesting is that as we grow older, depending on our environment, we're often trained in a certain kind of way. So in this grind culture and gotta get it, it's a lot of gut, it's a lot of head. You start to see it. Like people will, they'll go through painstakingly, will do things like I mentioned, like disassociate, will avoid, will stay busy, we'll do all kinds of things in order for this thing, whatever our gut is saying to be accomplished is accomplished, whatever thought it is, whatever pops up in our mind. I also tend to think that it also comes off at times as being super erratic. Like you'll notice like a person is going to be here, they're going to be here. Like that's why you'll notice some entrepreneurs or people like, last year you were this year you're that, next year you're this, but you're still going, and you can make it work, but it does come at a cost. And it comes at a cost of really just like getting further away from who you actually, a part of you, you're leaving a part of you behind, which is the heart. I would advise and you can just a simple exercise just to kind of look at it. I'm gonna give people super simple exercises.
Please do. Yeah.
So someone will ask someone to actually like, who am I? Like, someone, we've had the exercise like, who are you? Right? Yeah, who are you? And just answer from your head. Like, get into it. Like, what would we can do it now? What would your head say, brother? Like, who are you?
That's good. So, I'm an enigmatic adventurer, conscious philosopher, believer, deep-seated, compassionate lover of life, of people, of reality, of God, of existence.
Yeah.
Those are the things that came to my mind without thinking.
Yeah. Now, explain who you are from your gut. So you can even put your hand on your gut and just and don't
Motivator, educator,
yeah,
facilitator, documenter, trajectory maker or seer. I'm not sure. I couldn't hear that word. Whatever that word came after trajectory. It's hard for me to hear that.
or seer.
Yeah. Okay. I might have stopped my flow when
No, you're good. You're good. Because that's what tends to happen. Like it's super real. I mean because your mind is automatically it's gonna be there. Like I've learned to. It's a whole different thing. I've just learned it.
That was dope. Now tell me how to use all of that stuff that I just said. I want to hear the rest of this. I'm learning something now.
Now I would say put your hand on your heart, right? Put your hand on your heart, and either you can close your eyes, you can keep them open, whatever is more comfortable for you, and then answer from your heart. Like, who are you?
Me.
Mm.
I am me. Yeah.
And you can kind of sit in it. And these things are happening all the time. Like you can kind of sit and just being in me. And I know we're on the thing. If we had a little, if we were on the community speaking, maybe we'll start doing this a little bit more. But it can get super emotional when you start
Oh
to.
man, no, that was heavy enough. That was it. You see, I'm wiping off my glasses, but that was running my eyes. Yo, that was God, man.
And I see you too.
Mm, yeah, I'm gonna have to rewind that one right there. I don't remember everything that I said. I just remember that last thing, man. That was very real, almost kind of like awakening. Like, I actually have a process that I, I'm, not- I guess I practice it. That's a good word, but I practice getting myself close to hear. I like to hear the Lord. I like to hear God. I like the comfort. I enjoy the tightness and the feeling and the movement and the redirection and everything that comes with it. And like right then and there, I felt like I could hear, like I just stepped into the space where God is at. And first thing I heard was believe her, and then then like my mouth said me,
Yeah.
and that's just the way it happened. And so yeah, that was very very real. And I don't know which part of that was the most amazing piece, but I know that you going through that process. I definitely That definitely was a very real experience for me. It was a very real experience for me, and I'm just very grateful that I took the chance of actually applying 100% of it to myself
Yeah.
for that, because that was just it was very very real. I don't know that I exactly know. I think you. I don't know. I have to rewind it just to make sure I understand everything that you asked me. Yeah,
Yeah.
'cause I know you said gut and you said heart. I don't remember the first thing.
Head was the first
Head.
part. Was the first part. Like so,
Yeah.
there's a head, heart, and gut connection. And just like you mentioned, brother, I love it. I love it because it just it reinforces my thought process. If I'm going to be completely honest,
I
is
love that.
that is what I noticed. What I noticed is that when you can just speak to the heart of it, I've noticed in the experience that I have is it tends to be like a spiritual. It's like it's more spiritual, like what a person could call, I'm not talking about anybody's religion or nothing, but like a spirituality. Like it's like, ooh, like I'm with this entire thing. And when you do it with like, if I'm doing it with like a guy who does business, it was so dope because I recently did it with someone who was runs a couple of different businesses, and we were talking about like doing a meeting, like going into a meeting, right, and seeing how, and he's went through the connection course, which there's not a lot of courses that I tell people to do, but I know that I think they have one coming up in September. I want to say, and maybe it's even cheaper than, I don't know what. I know there's some you can get off, but it's like $600, $600 to $900. I'm not sure. So as we were going through the exercise, and we're talking about the meeting, like even thinking about the meeting, because everything that I can do with Joel or Joel and I can do together, you can do it within yourself. right? So if you have a decision or you're going through a process, you can say, okay, this meeting is coming up. I've changed. Like, I think that's the biggest thing that we speak about, like how much we've grown, not changed, we've grown. And I would even say, like, we've started to see ourselves more and more often. And we're spending more time with ourselves. And we're starting and accepting ourselves that you can use this. And so one of the things that in a business domain was like, okay, when I go, let's just say we're doing a meeting. I want to have a meeting with my staff or whatever. I'm thinking about KPIs. I'm a business owner. I know the brother knows, like I got bills to pay at the end of this month. I got my wife. I gotta have this, bank account. So we're thinking KPIs. We're thinking, transactions. I'm thinking, I'm real estate, so we're thinking commissions. We're thinking sales. We're thinking marketing. What, all these things combined. Is this deal going through? How do I position it? Negotiation, whatever. And then so your gut is going to be like, oh yeah, these things are going to get done. I'm sure it is. Like, I'm going to push forward. Like, I'm a doer. A lot of the words that you use for the gut, and probably a little bit for the mind, is like they end in ER. I noticed that with the gut when you were talking. It was like everything was like an ER, which is like motion is happening. Like it's like I'm in motion kind of deal. And so like I'm a doer. I'm a visualizer. I'm a thinker. I'm a whatever it is. Like it ends in this ER, which is like I'm doing. But then you go into the heart, and what comes out, it's so big, right? So I've seen people have the reaction that you had, brother, that it was just like I can't even express it all. And then you start to think about, yeah, I want people to in this meeting. I'm thinking about vision. I'm thinking about like all the opportunities. I'm thinking about how big this can get. I'm thinking about investing in you. I'm thinking about like when I see you, I start to become. It's like they're more compassionate. So I'm resonating with you. I think a lot of things you do, you just are like a lot of these things you're already attuned to, right? But sometimes we get into a mode where it's like it's either or. Like I got this thing to make. But if you start to say, okay, well, what does your heart say? You start to separate it. What does your head say about this? Man, I gotta figure out how to do this next step, and what's the next step, and how to get this thing done. And there's a decision that needs to be made. Am I going to keep this person on? Am I going to interact with this person? Am I going to pay for this vendor or not, or whatever? And then you say, okay, what does your gut say? My gut says this is a strong no. Like, yeah, I'm not doing it, or yeah, I am doing it. We need to do it. We should have did it yesterday. That used to be my favorite word. When do you need this done? Yesterday. Like that's what it is. Then you say, okay, so what does your heart do it? Oftentimes, if we haven't done this exercise, we pause. It's like, oh, I didn't even know that the heart had a choice. Like I didn't even know the heart should say something. Okay, so sit with it for a second. Maybe we haven't interacted in it with a long time. Yeah. This thing is going to happen, however it happens. And then you start to see different opportunities. Well, I didn't reach out to so-and-so. I wonder how they're doing, how they would answer this. Man, I know this guy knows a little bit about this. Like maybe I like everything kind of, you just get a different flavor of it. And they're all important. This isn't to say that the head is the most not important, or your gut is not important. All these parts of you are important. So you get a chance to attune to it all and then see what happens. And it does take practice. And it's not going to happen all the time. And we're not going to be perfect at it. And we're going to worry at times. That's a part of the human experience. We get a chance to be anxious. We get a chance to worry. And now we get a chance to be attuned with ourselves. What does that look like? I'll end with this. Because me and the gentleman, the brother, he's a brother to me now. It's so crazy how fast you can connect.
Yes.
When you get into this thing, when you can have these conversations and be vulnerable with someone and tell people like, man, I'm partial to this. Like I feel away. I really don't like this person. I really don't like how they smiling at me. I really don't like. I think they're up to something. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't mean it's the truth, but it's just the way that I'm partial. I just don't like it. and then you get an empathy with how fast you can start to connect. People can become brothers fairly quickly, right? And it can be in a positive way. But he spoke about he was talking about Joe Hudson, and Joe has his backstory, and how Joe just sat for like he meditated for like I think he said like 12 to 18 years. It was a long time. No, I'm getting the numbers mixed up. He was only making $12,000 a year. He had a capability of making a lot more, but he was like, I just want to meditate. And so he had an awakening, and he was in it for years. And at some point in time, he was like, okay, well, I got these two girls coming up. I got a wife. I got to make some money. Like, I got to get it. And so from my understanding, he had a pretty good network. And he was talking to like a guy the guy was a billionaire. And the guy was like, hey, yeah, I'll hire you. You can come on to my, you can work for me. And you know what he told him? He was like, no. He was like, no. And then we were laughing. We were like, what kind of person, you've been making $12,000 a year. You've got this friend who's like, the money's like flowing, it's effort, you're going to get in. He likes you. So I'm sure the salary is going to be pretty decent, at least enough for you probably to make enough money to feed your two kids a year. Because that's the excuse that we could use as fathers or protectors. Like, I got to make sure that my kids eat. My kids got to be taken care of. My wife, and that's a want. That's something that's in us as leaders and providers and protectors. Like, we want to make sure that our families home is okay. So for him, when he says like no, he told the guy like no. He's like, what do you want to do? He's like, I think I want to do something in like social work or something. It was like doing social work or something. And the guy's like, okay, I think we can do that. And so he ended up working in what we would call a disadvantaged community, working with the people there. And then the joke that we had was like, and he failed at that. Like, for whatever reason, he failed at that. And he went back to the guy, and he was like, yeah, I still don't want to be this. I guess the guy ended up making him do an investment, or he became a venture capitalist with this guy, and he found out that he was terrible at it. It wasn't because he didn't understand the markets or the business. It was because to be a great venture capitalist, you have to believe in the people. Right, you got the leaders. You're not investing just in the business. You're investing in the people of the business, and you have to allow them to kind of work it out on their own, because you should be figuring out other investments for you to get in. But he just couldn't leave these people alone. Like, he just wanted to coach them. He wanted to be there for them. And now he's running this business. From my understanding, I'm not going to give a number because I don't know for sure, but it's doing extremely well, like to the point where he can't even, it's overflowing. And if you ever catch any of his rapid coaching sessions, awesome guy. He coached with me once, and I was like, this is crazy, like how intuitive he is. But it's just that understanding but being able to sit where you are, be still, and understanding like where you want to go to, by using all of these different things, because money or these outside things aren't going to be the thing that's going to fulfill you or make you happy. What's going to make you happy is in being in alignment, being in attunement, however you find that. Because once that awareness hits you, there's no going back. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Once you become aware of this thing, it's almost like it could end up you could end up being tormented by it. You can go away from it and attempt to do this and attempt to avoid it and stay busy or whatever it is. But there's always going to be something that's like, what if? Like, what like, how do I, what if? And it could, and I imagine, because I've had that same thing. It's just, it's a scary feeling. It's something that you kind of got to be like, man, and then you get into it and we go back to this managing of a thing and labeling it and coming up with all these different frameworks. I'm telling you, people, which is dope, because I think the frameworks are awesome, because it gives me the ability to explain it to somebody else who's in a position. Because you're going to I think a lot of us want that structure of being able to see these things. But ultimately, it's gonna come to a point where you just like you spoke about earlier in the episode, brother, where it's just like you're gonna almost start laughing at the thing. Like you're really gonna. It could be, you know. Sometimes you might cry about the thing, right? But you're gonna be able to. It becomes a joke to me. Like it's just like I did all that to for what? Like what? Like what's the reasoning of that? Like my mindset, if I obtained this thing, like I would be happy or I would have accomplished this thing. But then you get to the peak, and then another peak. It could be a valley too, right? Like I want to see a peak. I might see a peak, but I might have to go through another valley again. So here I am going back down here, and man, maybe I should have just stayed back there where it was more comfortable, where I knew it was going to happen. But then you're just like, your gut saying like, yeah, it's time for you to keep going. Then your heart just opens up, and you start to achieve what they call equanimity. Like it kind of is being, and you start saying, man, I get to experience this thing. And so every now and then you're surprised and something comes up, especially when in interaction with each other. Like it's such a beautiful thing when you are able to receive each other. Like the conversation you had with that young lady earlier today. When you're able to receive each other, that thing probably started off as a 15-minute conversation, and then it's like, man, I really gotta go. I really gotta eat. Like I really got something that I have to do. I can sit in this thing forever. Like I don't know if you've ever experienced that. Like, man, we can have this. Man, we can talk for the next 3 to 4 hours because there's always going to be something to talk about. Me exploring you and us revealing each other to each other because I'm seeing it in you and it's triggering something to me and I can see it within myself. I get to sit with that later and I get to savor it because this is almost what like the spice of life, right? The joie de vie. This is the life, right? This is the everything. This is what we're here for. It's not the new car lasts for a while. A month later, man, it's just a car. I don't even wash that thing no more. You know what I mean? You could find joy in that. You could still find. I'm not saying you can't find joy in it, but you could. But I'm just saying what I've seen happen. That house is like, man, I don't even go on the other side of the house, man. It's dust. You go on the other side of the house, man, there's dust in there, man. But if it's being used and you have people coming in and out the house and they're able to stay, like I have my father here, so he has his room and you're able to imbibe in it, and you're having this experience and you're having this awareness, and then you have the gratefulness, and then you have the joy, and you have the laughter, and you have the pain, and you have the fear, and you have the anxiety, and it's all over, and it's hard to wade through. And if you just sit there and you just say, well, whoa, this is the equanimity about it is this thing is happening. I'm going to go deeper into it. I get a chance to be aware of this at the same time, like whatever this is, and just say, okay, here I am having this human experience as a spiritual being, and I get to open it up, and you get to allow your heart to break for it, and you have your time. Like we've been lucky enough to have this thing going on for 5 to 6 years, and it could end at any time, right? Like anything can happen, anything can come up, like these things can happen, but we're at the point where it's just like, if it stopped tomorrow, the blessing that I had from it, or like if it stopped, whatever it happens is like it, and the sadness that I get to see with it, I get to grieve it, or if that's the case may be, just like but as we grow and we get more accustomed to it, there's nothing wrong with the sadness. There's nothing wrong with the grieving. It's just a part of life. It's a part of this thing that we do, and we get to have equanimity around it. It's not easy, and I'm not here to tell you that it doesn't happen all the time. But I start to find joy in it. I start to say, "Boy, look, you're angry right now. Like you really, like I'm angry." Yeah, that happened to me on a couple of days ago. Like I'm in it. I'm like, "Boy, I'm angry," right? But then there was like this awareness of like, "Oh, I'm aware that I'm angry," and I'm like, but it don't feel that bad. Like this angry, because sometimes I think some people want to be angry, but you can't say it. But I'm just like, I get to enjoy this anger, just like I get to enjoy love if I even get that chance. Some of us don't even get to enjoy that. Like we don't get to. I've heard someone tell me like it's uncomfortable being joyful, right? Like the thought process, but behind that, someone saying that, but the awareness of it, like, man, And so if it's oftentimes if you don't notice that, you'll start to sabotage that
Mhm.
with joyfulness. Like you, like, oh, I just feel uncomfortable. I need to find something to do. I need to, I need to occupy myself instead of sitting there like, man, let me sit in this joy, right? Man, this has been super dark. We went longer than normal, but this was an awesome conversation for me, brother.
Yeah, likewise, likewise. Yeah, man. I love that equanimity. Yeah, I'm gonna dive deeper into that. There's so many things that I just like some takeaways that I had in this.
Speak on it. Yeah.
Like actually for books.
Oh,
Like it was crazy. It hit me. I was like, yo, you know what? Because I have like at this point in time, I think I have 3 books that are half written, right? And I was like, don't even do that. Just write exactly what it is that you want to say, and then just seal it right then and there. So no chapters, no nothing. And I was like, okay, that's what I'm gonna do. And I guess it's important that you mention talk about it because like that's gonna be my thing. By the time I see you on next week, I'm gonna have one of them complete.
mm,
And I'm not saying that it's gonna be longer than 3 pages. I'm just
yeah,
saying exactly whatever it is that's in my heart about these 7 topics. I'm just gonna write that stuff down, and I'm gonna just make a book out of it, and that's gonna be the end of it. Um, I don't like every time I start writing a longer book, somewhere in the middle of the book, I don't want to write it anymore. And maybe that's writer's block. I don't know. Maybe I need to go talk to someone who writes books all the time, you know. But maybe it's just that I'm uninspired by the pathway, and it needs to go a different pathway. So instead, I'm just going to write the chapter, and I'm going to
yeah.
call that a book, and I'm just going to be done with it just like that. So I'm looking forward to speaking with you in 7 days, God willing, the creek don't rise, that you know what to say, and having one of these books ready.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
People, it's been lovely. I want you all to get back to your Friday. It's been hot. This last week has been super different. It's been hot. We're deep in the summer here, but it's only uphill from now because I don't think it can get hotter than what it was in the last week. And let me knock on wood real quick. I hope you all will enjoy the rest of your enjoy your weekend. How about that?
Yeah.
And we will see you next week on Community Beacon, man. We appreciate you, love you, Community Beacon TV. Subscribe, log in, and check us out, man. Peace.
Peace, y'all.